Okay, think about the last message you deleted, or maybe the last connection request you accepted without really thinking about it. In those simple little clicks, you could have been dodging a bullet in a massive multi-billion-dollar crime wave that's happening right now. Scams are getting so much more sophisticated, so today we're going to open up the scammer's playbook and show you exactly how to fight back.
So let's just start with the price tag on all this. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, this is the amount of money reported lost in just the last 5 years, $50.5 billion. I mean, that's more than the entire economy of some countries. It's just a staggering figure, and it proves this isn't some small-time operation. It's a global industry.
And that giant number? It's not from just a few big heists. Nope, it's built on millions of individual stories, millions of people getting hurt. In that same 5-year window, the FBI got over 4 million complaints. That works out to more than 800,000 reports every single year. So you can see, this is not a niche problem. It's a digital epidemic.
But this is where the story gets really interesting. Because if this is a war, you have to ask, who's on the front lines? Well, it turns out scammers have very specific targets. They aren't just looking for anyone, they're hunting for the biggest prizes.
And this chart really tells the story. Look, while younger people definitely report being scammed, just look at where the money is going. The losses climb like a ladder with age. And that top group, people 60 and over, they lost a jaw-dropping $4.8 billion in 2024 alone. Why? Well, scammers see them as the perfect target. Maybe a little less tech-savvy, a bit more trusting, and most importantly, they're the generation that holds most of the wealth.
So okay, we know who's losing the most cash. The next logical question is, where is all this happening? And the answer probably isn't what you think. It's not some dark corner of the internet. It's probably a place you visited like 5 minutes ago. This stat from the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, is just wow. It says it all. 1 out of every 4 people who lost money to fraud said the whole thing kicked off on social media. That is a huge concentration, and it makes these platforms the #1 battleground in this whole fight. And just look at the scale of this. Since 2021, we're talking about $2.7 billion in reported losses from scams that started on social media. That's more than phone calls, emails, and text messages all put together. Social media has, without a doubt, become the golden goose for these modern-day criminals. And don't think it's just about your vacation photos. Security experts are sounding the alarm that professional networks are a hotbed for some really high-stakes attacks. Scammers are building these incredibly sophisticated fake profiles on sites like LinkedIn to pull off corporate espionage, steal trade secrets, and launch these huge, elaborate financial fraud schemes. The bottom line is, no platform is safe. So we know where they're hunting. Now let's take a look inside their playbook. Scammers use all kinds of psychological tricks and schemes, but there are a few key tactics that are responsible for the vast majority of the money they get away with.
Right at the top of the list is investment fraud. This one is the single most expensive type of scam out there, pulling in over $5.8 billion in 2024 alone. They'll promise you these insane guaranteed returns, often using these slick-looking but totally fake investment apps, and their favorite tool? Cryptocurrency. Why? Because the transactions are fast, they're super hard to trace, and they're almost impossible to reverse. So you invest, and then poof, your money is just gone.
Next up is a real classic, phishing. This is often just the first step in a much bigger scam. You know the drill. A fake email that looks like it's from your bank, a text about a package you didn't order. The whole goal is just to trick you into clicking a bad link or handing over your login info, which basically opens the door for them to steal your identity and your money.
Now, romance scams are just uniquely cruel because they turn our own need for human connection into a weapon. The FTC says these have the second highest losses on social media. Scammers will spend weeks, sometimes even months, building what feels like a totally real, deep relationship. And then, all of a sudden, there's a big emergency, and they desperately need you to send them money.
And then there are tech support scams, which raked in over $1.4 billion last year. You've probably seen these. A scary pop-up message takes over your screen, or you get an urgent call claiming your computer is just riddled with viruses. They use panic and fear to rush you into paying for worthless services, or, even worse, getting you to give them remote access to your computer and everything on it.
Okay, that was a lot of bad news, but here is the good news. You are not powerless here. Not at all. We're going to switch gears now from the problem to the solution. because there are some really simple, concrete things you can do right now to make yourself a much, much harder target. Let's call this Security 101. These are the absolute fundamentals. First, use a different, complex password for every single one of your accounts. No exceptions. Second, turn on two-factor authentication anytime it's offered. It's like adding a deadbolt to your digital front door. And third, just take 2 minutes to actually look at your social media privacy settings and lock down what strangers are allowed to see about you.
The FBI has this really simple but powerful mantra that can stop most of these scams in their tracks. Check, call, wait. Before you act on any kind of urgent request, first, check the email address or the phone number. Is it legit? Next, call the person or the company on a number you already know is real, not one from the message. And finally, just wait. Verify everything before you even think about sending a single penny.
Now, on professional networks, your goals should be quality, not quantity. Some people try to become what's called a lion. That's a LinkedIn open networker, and they just accept every single connection request they get to build a huge network. But security experts will tell you this is a terrible idea. You're not expanding your influence, you are massively expanding your personal risk, and you're helping scammers look legitimate by connecting with them. Be selective, be a connector, not a lion.
You know, it really all comes down to just recognizing the red flags. If someone's demanding payment in cryptocurrency or gift cards, that's a huge red flag. It's a scam. If they're rushing you into a friendship or a romance, or promising impossible returns on an investment, it's a scam. If they immediately want to move the conversation to another app, or, and this is a weird one, if they ask you to handle packages for them, just stop. These are all classic scammer moves.
Finally, let's say the worst happens. It is so important to know that you are not alone. There are powerful resources out there, and acting fast can make all the difference in the world. Law enforcement is actively fighting back against this stuff.
So the FBI actually has this kind of financial SWAT team. It's called the Recovery Asset Team, or RAT, and their entire job is to be the first responders for fraud. They work directly with banks to try and intercept and freeze bogus wire transfers before the money disappears forever. Seriously, think of them as the team that stops the getaway car. And you know what? They are incredibly good at their jobs, if you act fast. In 2024, the Recovery Asset Team had a 66% success rate in freezing funds. That means for every $3 that were reported quickly, they were able to save 2 of them. But every single second counts. Time is absolutely critical.
And this is why your report is so much more than just a piece of paper. Filing a complaint at the FBI's website, IC3.gov, is the thing that actually activates this whole recovery process. Plus, it gives law enforcement the intelligence they need to connect the dots, dismantle these criminal networks, and stop them from hitting somebody else. Your voice is literally a weapon in this fight.
So, we'll leave you with this one thought. In a world where basically anything can be faked, a voice, a video, a professional profile, a healthy amount of skepticism is your best shield. The next time you get a message or a request that feels just a little bit off, pause and ask yourself, how can I be 100% sure this is real? Taking that extra moment to verify, that's not paranoia. It's your digital self-preservation. Thanks for tuning in.